Branding is way more than a logo, and in my opinion, is one of the most important things that you'll do. A lot of people disagree with me, and I know it might be controversial, but I am here to tell you today why branding is one of the most important things to do. Welcome back to the Family First Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Heather Blake. So first, I want to start by clarifying this. Branding is not what we were taught years ago. If you learned anything about it in school, or if you watch some old school videos, branding is not your logo, your fonts, your colors. Yes, those are parts of your visual brand. However, they are not your brand. They are a segment of your brand. What is branding? Branding is your intentional first impression and your reputation of you and your business. What do I mean by that? So, by deciding what your brand is, by developing a brand, you are telling people what you are to be known for, what words and feelings they can associate with you. Those are your brand, they are your reputation, and it's your intentional first impression. Now, this is why I think it is so important. So many people don't develop a brand, and that means that people that come across you on the internet or wherever else they come across you, the yellow pages, do those exist? If wherever they come across you, online, offline, walking down the street, they get to decide for themselves what their first impression is. Because you didn't intentionally design your brand to tell them what their first impression should be. So if you do not decide, okay, I want to make sure that I give the feeling of family focused, my family is important to me, that is one of my values, and my business needs to have a value of being family focused. And you don't decide that. You just kind of think it in the back of your head, but it's not really part of your brand. So when you make a piece of content online or you put an ad in the paper, let's say you're putting an ad and someone comes up to you and you have a local shop, okay? You are a family focused entrepreneur. However, that is not top of mind. So someone comes up to you and they're like, oh, well, we are putting together ads on a placemat that's going to be located inside of this restaurant. And you're like, cool, I can get myself out there. I can get people to know me. They can come into my shop and this will be great. Let me place an ad on this little placemat. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're at least popular around where I am, or popular-ish around where I am. So you don't think, okay, I need to make sure this aligns with my brand. You're just like, yep, let me go ahead and I am going to place an ad. Well, you place an ad on that, you buy a little square or a rectangle or whatever it is, you buy into that, and then someone goes to that restaurant. Well, that restaurant caters to bar clients. And those bar clients, maybe there's a certain reputation of that bar, whatever it is, it's not your client. It's not your customer. It is not giving off that value of being family focused. So this is why you need to make sure that's what you're doing. So say now that you're putting out a piece of content and you are a family focused person. Most likely, as a family focused person, you are not using inappropriate language. I could be wrong, but me as a family focused person, I know that there's a possibility that someone is looking at a piece of my content with family members around. So I am going to make sure that I'm not using vulgar language. But that's because that is one of my values. And I know that's important to me, and I know that's important to my brand. But if you don't keep that in mind and you're just saying whatever you want and you're just winging it, and next thing you know, you're swearing and the person is like, oh, I'm not watching this. I'm done with them. They don't align with my values. So those are two examples of making sure that you align yourself and your brand aligns with having the reputation and the first impression that you decide. I tell people all the time, if you don't decide your reputation, they will decide it for you. And that's why it is so important to have a brand. These are the ways that I like to walk my students through discovering their brand. One of the biggest things I have people do is to list their values. Then I have them decide which values are most important. They can pick the top 3 or 5 values that are most important. Then I like to do a word association exercise. So, what words would you want someone to associate with your business and with you? You might use words like energetic, fun, family friendly, serene, calm, intelligent, creative. There's all these words that you might associate, and feelings too, like, the feeling of calmness. Do you want someone to feel calm when they walk into your business? Or if you are a YouTuber, we'll say, do you want someone to feel calm? Most likely not, unless you're doing like yoga or things like that. So you have to decide what is appropriate and what are my values that I want to associate all this together. So you have your most important values, the word associations for feelings, and what you want someone to think and say about your business. And then I usually ask my students to write down a description, like a saying. When someone you work with gives you a review, what is it that you want them to say about working with you? Maybe you're a chiropractor. They were very knowledgeable. They made me feel relaxed, comfortable, and after leaving, I felt relief from the pain and the discomfort that I've been feeling. Right? So you just decided right there that you want someone to feel relaxed, comfortable, put at ease. You decided that. And that way, when you interact with that client or customer, you can make sure that you align yourself with that. And that's all part of your brand. Your brand, yes, is more than that. It is a logo, and your logo should have the feeling that you chose for your word associations and for your values, something that goes along those feelings. For instance, if you want someone to feel relaxed, you're most likely not going to use the color red. Red is not relaxed. You're not going to have sharp edges if you want someone to feel relaxed. You're going to have soft, curvy lines, right? So there's all these different things that we can do to make someone have the association that we want them to have. It is in your best interest to do this. Now, if you've already branded yourself and you start doing this exercise and realize that your brand is not right, then that's okay. You can change, you can rebrand. I'm going to tell you a little story about my first business. And I think this is very important because it tells you all kinds of lessons within it. Now, I started my photography business when I was in high school. I named it H. Cachet Photography for Heather Cachet. Cachet is my maiden name. So, H. Cachet Photography. That's great because that's what everyone does. Everyone names their photography business after themselves. A lot of different types of brands, name their business after themselves, right? It's very common. Johnson & Johnson, named after themselves. All kinds of people, businesses, companies do this. So that's what I did. And after years of running my business, kind of as a side thing, because I always thought, well, this is not a business. I can't be a business. It's a hobby. It's a, whatever it is. But I finally started treating it like a real business, and I stopped listening to the people around me and decided I'm just doing this. And I started to advertise on the radio. I had a sign put up, everything that H Cachet Photography. And I could even like tell you. So I used to do the radio commercial and be like, that's H Cachet, HCACHAT.com. And I had to spell it out for people. Well, people always recognize my voice from the radio, but not a single one of them remembered how to say or pronounce my name. And none of them really cared about my business name because it was about me. And it wasn't ever about the experience. It wasn't about them and what they expected from my business. So I decided that I was going to rebrand. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, what is most important in my business? I photograph people. I photograph people so they have memories. And I was thinking about it and I kept going through all these things. Okay, memories and photographing and people. And what I ultimately realized was so many people told me, so many of my clients that I worked with told me that I really listened to them and I put them first. So it wasn't ever about what I wanted for a wedding client. Yes, I would give suggestions and I knew how to pose them and all that, but it was about what they wanted. And that's when I realized that I needed to rebrand to put people first. Because the people were the important part, the people that I was photographing. So I rebranded my business as People First Photography. When I did this, I changed my colors because they were red and black. I don't know why I chose that red and black before. So actually, I had started rebranding my colors. I had switched away from the red and black, but I'm still H Cachet Photography, and I started going to this blue and this pink. And so when I switched over to People First Photography, I just went into the, white, black lettering, pink, and like this Tiffany colored blue. And see, even that right there is a brand, the blue, right? Tiffany. Everyone knows that Tiffany color blue. But I started having so many more clients when I rebranded. No lie. Absolutely, that is when my business started taking off. I was at H Crochet Photography. I had started renting a location and I was doing some business here and there. I was doing weddings and I rebranded to People First Photography and things just started to click because people could pronounce it, people could remember it, and people knew what my business was about. I was putting people first, not me. So when you name your business after yourself, that's kind of a message. I'm naming it after me because I care about me. So your brand should not only tell people what they should feel and what they should think, but they should also know what your business is about from your name and from your slogan or whatever else it is. You need to make sure that it is about your clients, it is about your customers, it is about their results, it is about their feelings, and you're just the vehicle to help them get there. So if you have not done a branding worksheet, as I like to say, or a branding exercise, I highly recommend that you sit down and you write out what your values are and decide what your top 3 to 5 values are. What is most important to you and your business? What are you not willing to compromise on? What does your business stand for? Then choose the words that you want associated with your business and the feelings you want associated with your business. Make sure that it makes sense to your customer, not just to you. Make sure it's about your customer and not just about you. Your values should be your customer's values. And that being said, there are a lot of people who say that a business is not allowed to have beliefs and is not allowed to stand for anything. And I am strongly against that. I believe that you as a business should stand for something because that means that it's going to resonate with the people that stand for that same thing with you. Now, does it mean you might alienate people? Yes, it does. But do you want to feel good about who you are, who your customer is, and how you're making your money? Or do you just want to get filthy rich, like Scrooge McDuck? I don't think we want, I mean, yeah, cool. We all love to swim in our coins of gold, but I want to feel good about the money I'm making and the people that I'm helping. And so I don't mind alienating the people that don't believe the same thing as me. I want to find my people who believe the same things as me, who I can help, and I suggest that you do the same thing too, within reason. I mean, if don't go putting all your crazy conspiracy theories out there or whatever. Unless that's extremely who you are, then I guess go ahead, go for it. It's up to you. But I would love to see you take a moment and look at your brand and make sure you decide what your reputation is, what your first impression, what other people's first impression of you are, and make sure it aligns with you, that your colors of your brand align with you, and carry that all through everything you do. So part of branding too is being consistent. So make sure that your brand is carried through everything you do, through your website, through the photo that you have as your profile photo, through all of your social media. Everything that you do, keep it consistent, because branding is your reputation, like I said, and the more people see the same thing from you, more likely they are to remember it. Did you know that people need to see something 3 times before they'll even remember it remotely? So make sure that everything you do is out there, that you let them see you for you, your values, what you stand for, and make sure you're consistent over and over and over again, because branding can help you build trust, and trust can help you gain customers and clients. I'll see you next week on the podcast. And if you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, check out the description and you can fill out a form to apply to be a guest. Look forward to talking to you all and see you next week.